junior from Braintree, Massachusetts. Number 1, Bridget Hurley. At forward, a 6'1" junior from Mulliga Hill, New Jersey. Number 30, Mary Gadinka. At guard, a 6-foot junior from Villanova, Pennsylvania. Number 25, Kelly Jacob. At forward, a 6-foot senior from Baltimore, Maryland. Number 21, Jana Tucker. And at guard, a 5'6" senior from Wilmington, Delaware. Number 31, Adriana Hahn. The head coach of the Wildcats is Harry Beretta. Associate head coach Joe Mulaney. Assistant coach Jeanette Lee.
It's the first game at the brand new Finneran Pavilion, an exhibition for Villanova women's basketball, and it's tonight on Nova Nation All Access. The visiting East Stroudsburg Warriors come into town to take on the Villanova Wildcats. And good evening, welcome into our brand new home of Villanova basketball. Alongside our great crew and my broadcast partner, Steve Bonone, I'm Nick Montaigne. Back for another season, and the Wildcats coming off an NCAA tournament from a year ago. So lots to talk about, Steve. This team made it to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Harry Beretta back for his 41st season, with the exception of Alex Lewin. Just about everybody back from last year. Brand new building, lots of excitement.
Without a doubt, Nick, Wildcats picked third in the preseason in the Big East, coming off their 6th straight 20-win season. So the Wildcats will go for their 7th this year. And as you mentioned, 3 starters returning. Mary Gadinka, who came off the bench last year, inserted in the starting lineup, an all Big East player in the preseason. So here we go, ready to go.
The Wildcats in white, quickly to Kelly Jacob underneath for 2.
Nice job off the tip there.
East Stroudsburg out of Division II. They play out of the PSAC Conference. They were here last year for our exhibition at Jake Nevin. Much nicer digs this year. The Warriors are without 3 of their notables. That's a miss for Amanda Pike, number 14, the sophomore out of Burdett, New York. Bridget Hurley, Adriana Hahn, Jana Tucker gets that extra year of eligibility due to hardship. Here is Jana Tucker.
Good move off the dribble there. Wildcats known for their 3-point shooting. Jana shows you the in-between mid-range game with the pull-up jumper from about 12 feet.
She had the breakout season, did Jana Tucker, shooting it from 3 last year at 39%. There's a pull-up that's off the mark for Tiffany Lepotsky out of Ashland, Pennsylvania, number 10, as she averaged 11.6 points per game last year for the Warriors, who won 16 ball games. Here's Bridget Hurley, who's in the starting lineup this year. Adriana Hahn's been an all-conference guard. Mary Gadinka is an all-conference player.
Really nice pass by Adriana Hahn. Usually the shot fake, get in the lane, draw the defender, drops it off to Mary Gadinka for the easy lay-in. Wildcats here showing some full-court pressure after every made field goal. Now they drop back in their man-to-man.
Mary Gadinka led the Big East in shooting percentage, 61%. She was unstoppable in the block last year. Teams didn't really know how to guard her. She used her quickness to get a lot of points. Here's the drive by Tiffany Lepotsky, no good. We mentioned the Warriors are without 3 of their best in Sadie Cresswell, Ann McKnight, and Noelle Powell. Those are their 3 best players, arguably. There's Jana Tucker, the Tennessee transfer, now as a veteran here at Villanova, and Mary Gadinka muscles up for 2.
Yeah, you're talking Gadinka on the offensive glass. It's just a very good finisher around the rim. You talked about that high shooting percentage. She gets her hands on things down low. She's going to go back up and score.
One of many Big East 6th Woman of the Year winners that Harry Beretta has had, because he brings those good players off the bench year to year. Gadinka's in the starting lineup, it looks like, for this season. There's a little handoff to Jordan Hurts, the excellent point guard. Can't convert, and Gadinka gets the rebound.
Good job by Hurts, just unable to finish in and around the rim over Gadinka's size.
Jordan Hurts averaged nearly 5 assists per game last year. She's instrumental for Diane Decker, the former Villanova guard who played under Harry Beretta. And there's Kelly Jacob, the junior. She's due for an all-Big East season.
Yeah, Wildcats with a 10-0 lead here early, but good job of passing the basketball, looking for the open player, getting themselves easy shots.
Of course, both teams will run a very similar motion offense. Harry Peretta year after year, and of course, Diane Decker was a part of those great teams in the 80s with Lynn Ty, certainly. And
Shelley Pennyfather.
Shelley Pennyfather, the all-time leading
Lisa
scorer.
Angelotti, some great player. Mary Dicker's mother, actually. Lisa Angelotti was a great player here, obviously, in that era as well.
That was a loaded team. Boy,
Certainly,
they won a couple
was.
of Big East titles. You were in school back then, Steve,
Yes,
right?
I was.
Both teams were dominant at that point, and of course, both of our teams went to the NCAA tournament last year. There's Amanda Pike with a three.
Yeah.
Shot it pretty well from three last year at 36%, and East Stroudsburg's on the board.
Yeah, good-looking stroke from Pike there. She squared up from the long range and knocked it down, cut the lead to 10-3.
The Wildcats won 23 games last year. As Steve said, another 20-win season, their sixth straight. Can players like Bridget Hurley break out, filling in for Alex Lewin?
On cue right there, you see Bridget Hurley around the basket, finished with the left hand. So Nick asks, Bridget delivers.
And Alex Lewin is one of those great players you have to replace because she could do everything for you. She was the glue. How do you replace that? Bridget Hurley will be a big factor.
Yeah, Alex Lewin's versatility was such a big factor for his team, handling the ball, making shots, going in the low post and scoring, guarding just about anyone else on the floor as well. So Bridget's got some big shoes to fill, and she's off to a good start.
And it will probably be a collection of a number of players, according to Harry Peretta. There's Janet Tucker. Three is no good, and the rebound to Jordan Hurts, who's a good rebounder at nearly 5 per game from last season. There's another quick three, and it rims out for Amanda Pike.
Pike's got a good-looking stroke there. That one rimmed in and out, but she looks good shooting the basketball.
14 wins in the conference last year for East Stroudsburg, but they lost in their conference tournament to Millersville. Actually struggled late in the year, lost back-to-back games to Millersville to end the season. Here's Bridget Hurley, no good, too strong on a three. Mary Gadeka, so strong on the glass, and scores.
Such a good finisher around the rim. We talked about that earlier, shooting that high field goal percentage. But she gets her hands on rebound. She just finishes everything around the rim.
That's why Gadeka was an All-Big East honorable mention pick last year. There's a foul as our officials for tonight.
Yeah, that was Janet Tucker. It almost looked like an intentional reach, and Harry Peretta wanted to get some subs into the ball game.
Christy Vera, Rebecca Taylor, and Lauren Numera are the officials for tonight as Grace Stant, Raven James check in for Villanova, and Brianna Hurley, the sister of Bridget. Here's the drive by Tiffany Lepotsky over Raymond James, and good for Lepotsky.
Yeah, good job of keeping her pivot foot there in the lane. Was able to get the ball over James into the basket.
Tiffany Lepotsky was an all-PSAC East. They have two divisions in that conference. An East second-team pick last year. Kelly Jaycott gets the roll for three.
Kelly, an outstanding three-point shooter. Able to knock that down. Wildcats are good. Getting the ball inside, kicking it out to get themselves open looks from the perimeter.
Jaycott hit 49 threes last year, averaged over 11 points per game, a 37% three-point shooter last year for Kelly Jaycott, the junior guard out of Enola, Pennsylvania. Nice switching by Villanova, 9 left to shoot. There's another three. Amanda Pike no good, and Brianna Hurley has the rebound.
Good defense by the Wildcats, forcing contested jump shots from East Stroudsburg.
Grace Stant, very solid last year, doing a number of things. Good passer, very physical player. Knocked away nicely by Tiffany Lepotsky, picked up by Raven James with 12 left to shoot. Harry Peretta calling for the corner as we'll see Kelly Jaycott draw a foul.
Yeah, she got bumped on the drive there. That'll be the first team foul for East Stroudsburg.
And that'll bring us to our first timeout. With 3:59 left in the opening quarter, it's Villanova 17 and East Stroudsburg 5 in the first ever game in the brand new Finneran Pavilion. Welcome back. Staying alive indeed there. There's Bridget Herlihy with a 3, and it's good.
Nick, you can see that shot going in when it left her hand. Perfect rotation, squared up to the basket. Big threes. The Wildcats jump out 20-5 here.
25 threes last year for Bridget Herlihy. Steve, Villanova had a great year scoring the ball last year. 67.5 points per game. That was the most this century, essentially the most since I've been here. We're going over 15 years. That's the most I could find. Looking back, I looked at every season. The record was back in the early 80s when the team averaged 72.6 in the 81-82 season. So the people that think that Harry Paredes offense in the early 80s were winning 20-10, those were really good teams. And then obviously we talked about Diane Decker, the head coach for East Stroudsburg, who was on those 2 Big East tournament championship teams for Harry Pareda in the late 80s with Shelley Pennefather and company. Harry Pareda has had very good teams through the years.
Yeah, and you go back to the 81-82 team, that's before the three-point shot came, which Harry's made a staple of his offense. So obviously that was a Final Four team in the AIEW. So obviously that team could score the basketball and also defend as well. And you mentioned last year's group. I think they do a good job of sharing the ball. They're going to work the shot clock to get an open shot. It's not just come down first person open shoot. So that leads to less possessions in a game. So you're not going to be scoring 80, 85 a game the way their style of offense is.
But 89 points against Xavier last year was the most points for Villanova since scoring 98 against West Virginia in the 2000-2001 season. So this team showed they could score. And last year, Steve, #1 scoring defense in the Big East, #1 field goal defense, #1 three-point defense.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. Can you guard at that end? And what they've, I guess, historically struggled a little bit is on the glass, rebounding-wise. So if they can hold their own on the glass, their ability to stop that first shot has been really, really good. It's just keeping the other teams off the glass so they don't get that second look, easy putback.
A little delay, but back underway here in the first quarter. I love the quarter system that women's basketball has gone to in recent years. At first, people weren't used to it. I think it's been a success. Well done to the committee that made the changes to that. Nice double team by Villanova, and a turnaround is no good for Marlene Bassett, the sophomore out of Williamsport. Bridget Herlihy out of Massachusetts. Kelly Jaycott and Raven James. Here's Brianna Herlihy as the sisters out there together and through the hands of Grace Stant, and East Stroudsburg will get it back.
It'll be a backcourt violation there. Wildcat first turnover of the game for the Wildcats.
Cameron Onken will enter, and we'll see the first appearance by Emily Esposito, very talented redshirt freshman guard out of Gorham, Maine, who should add some scoring to the lineup.
Outstanding scorer in high schools, as you mentioned, Nick, redshirted last year. And it's just a matter of how quickly she gets into the system here, but a very talented offensive player.
There will be very good offensive options. Obviously, with Harry Pareda and Joe Mullaney, they want the defense to always be there from game to game. Obviously, it takes time from week to week, and those youngsters have to learn the defense as well. Tiffany Lepotsky, very talented guard. Noelle Powell and she together with Jordan Hurts leading the offense should be very good for East Stroudsburg. Very nice left-handed finish by Tiffany Lepotsky.
Lepotsky with a nice backdoor cut there, caught herself in the lane. James got caught with her head turned, didn't see the flash, and Lepotsky's able to lay it in the basket.
East Stroudsburg, they've had good teams in recent years. They did lose their best player in Amani Brown. How about Villanova underneath?
Cameron Onken on a nice pass from Raven James.
Raven James is the backup point guard. Cameron Onken will get a lot of chances to shoot from the wing. A couple lefties connecting there. 19 left to shoot for the Warriors. They were picked second in the PSAC, that's their conference, in the East Division. Villanova picked third in the Big East preseason poll as the Warriors answer with a 3. And they played a little bit of catch-up here. There's Esposito wearing number 23. Grace Stant and Cameron Onken exchange. 14 left to shoot for Villanova. DePaul and Marquette picked 1 and 2 as a tie for first place in the Big East, and then Villanova was picked next. Grace Stant with a 3.
The Wildcats do a good job of just setting it up with dribble penetration. If they get into the paint, draw defenders, and kick out. Stant from about 5 feet behind the line, knocks it down. Looked good shooting that one.
The Wildcats finished second in the Big East in threes made last year with 288 of them. Only DePaul had more. 1:31 left in the first quarter.
We're going to have a 3-second call there on East Stroudsburg, so the Wildcats will take over.
Turnover on the Warriors, who have been to 6 straight postseasons. The Wildcats have had some hiccups in that Big East tournament in recent years, as Georgetown's defense was terrific in Chicago last year in the Big East quarterfinals, but Villanova shot the ball much better out in the NCAA tournament at Notre Dame, Steve. They really shot well against both teams.
Yeah, that Notre Dame game's tied at half. The Cats kind of ran out of gas in that second half against the eventual national champion. So a strong showing last year from the Wildcats, specifically the regular season and the NCAA tournament.
Remember, the Wildcats shot 46% in that game. They don't lose when they shoot that well typically, and they had arguably their best shooting day from 3, 10 of 20 from beyond the arc. As you said, Steve, that was a powerhouse it turned out to be for the champs. There's a travel on Cameron Onken. Less than a minute to go here in the opening quarter. Next Wednesday, much earlier start to college basketball. Tuesday is the first night the men can play. The women can start as well right around then. Wednesday against Hartford, 7 o'clock next week, our first broadcast of the season in the season opener against Hartford right here at the Finneran Pavilion.
Looking forward to getting the season underway, Nick. That should be an outstanding game.
And the men play against Morgan State on Tuesday, right here in the first ever official game. That 3 is no good for Tiffany Lepotsky, and the Wildcats corral it. Brianna Herlihy can handle the ball, as you see. Emily Esposito off the dribble is dangerous. Had it deflected out of her hand, and a very good box out for East Stroudsburg with Julia Kutz, the redshirt freshman guard out of Pottsville, and then a foul on Nova.
Raven James did a good job of moving her feet, but then reached in, causing that foul. She's got to keep your hands up. Keep moving your feet. She did a really good job of working the East Stroudsburg player in the backcourt, and then got a little bit lazy with her hands and reached in. A good call by the officials.
The foul is on Raven James, which is her first, and the Warriors can hold for 1. Very talented team. They did win 11 of 14 last year underneath for Dominic Graham, the junior out of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. 6 seconds left for Villanova. Raven James off the dribble. The lefty pulls up and misses. The putback for Brianna Herlihy is just off the mark.
Good job getting on the offensive glass. They're unfortunately unable to get it to go down.
That's the end of the first quarter. The Wildcats with a 27-10 lead thanks to 62% shooting from the field. We'll be back in the second quarter right after this. Welcome back, everyone. The start of the second quarter with Steve Pannone. I'm Nick Montagna. Glad to have you with us for this exhibition contest. The Wildcats, as we said, were picked 3rd in the preseason Big East poll. Alzea Blockton of Marquette named the preseason player of the year. Marquette has that whole team back. They're all seniors. They're the best team in the league, according to many. But DePaul, led by some good players like Kelly Campbell and Ashton Millender, should be a fun conference. There's a pull-up and no good. Mary Gadeka almost had the rebound. It was tipped away by Caitlin Swint, the sophomore out of Bethlehem. And Bridget Herlihy will skip the ball to Adriana Hahn as the first-teamers return for Villanova. There's Bridget Herlihy in the corner. Kelly Jaycott has some room to drive and score.
Nice finish around the rim by Jaycott.
Last year, Kelly Jaycott had 17 double-figure scoring efforts, including 16 points at Notre Dame in the NCAA tournament second-round loss, where Steve said it was tied at halftime, and then Notre Dame turned on the Jets in the second half.
Good hands by Bridget Herlihy, who knocks that ball away, picked up by Adriana Hahn.
So here's Adriana Hahn, slowed by that knee injury last year, Steve, and down the stretch just wasn't the same. How about Bridget Herlihy scoring there?
Yeah, showing her athleticism and her versatility. She finishes with the left hand around the defender. Good athletic play by Bridget Herlihy.
Adriana Hahn just so important to the Wildcats, dominant her freshman and sophomore seasons. That injury slowed her up a bit last year and got off to a tad of a slow start, but it was because teams learned to defend her much better.
And I think the other Wildcat players have really improved, so it's more of a balanced attack the last 2 years than it had to be in Adriana's first 2 seasons.
When she was scoring 30 a game at times, it seems. Underneath, it's no good there for Abby Schofstall, one of their better bench players. She'll need to be there without those 3 notables available at the moment, like Sadie Cresswell, Ann McKnight, and Noelle Powell, who had a good year 2 seasons ago. Jana Tucker scores it and 1.
Wildcats doing a really good job finishing around the rim today. Tucker takes the bump and is still able to finish, so she'll go to the line to shoot 1 to try to complete the old-fashioned 3-point play.
Tucker just so dominant as a high school player, then dealt with knee injuries in her time at Tennessee and at the end of high school, and it's so great to see here. Look at what she did over her last 15 games to end a season ago, 47%, and in Big East games, Janet Tucker was the #1 3-point shooter in the conference at 43%. She absolutely killed it and hit that 3-quarter court shot against Providence as well. So everything was going in for her late in the year.
When you're hot, you're hot.
Oh, seriously. She had an unbelievable season, as I thought she would. That's an air ball.
Wildcats doing a much better job of containing dribble penetration, forcing those threes from 3-4 feet behind the line instead of getting those toes right on the line. Makes it a much more difficult shot for the Stroudsburg Warriors today.
Tucker had a season-high 20 points against South Dakota State in the overtime win over the Jackrabbits in the NCAA tournament. Villanova scored the ball well. Adriana Hahn found her shot in the NCAA tournament with 24 points against South Dakota State and 11 points against Notre Dame, where she hit her threes. So that was a good sign for Adriana late, who started to feel much better late in the season, and that week off really helps you down the stretch. Here's Janet Tucker. Down low to Kelly Jaycott, and a foul is called.
Nice look by Kelly Jaycott for Mary Gadeka down low, but the foul was called. I think Mary would have had herself another layup. Harry Peretti goes to his bench.
Sam Karanji will replace Kelly Jaycott, and Bridget Herlihy will exchange with Emily Esposito. Fresh shot clock for Villanova. Here's Sam Karanji, redshirt freshman guard out of Lansdale, Pennsylvania. Her Aunt Mary Beth Snell, former player for Villanova and former coach for Harry Peretta. Here's Mary Gadeka all the way to the rack.
And 1, going to be a foul. Mary's just got an incredible, he sounds repetitive, but her incredible ability to finish around the rim. She keeps her eyes on that target, and her strength, she's able to go through contact and finish for an and 1.
She had a career-high 24 points at Providence last year. Shot a Big East best 92% in that game. That's pretty good. And completes the 3-point play.
It sounds like it's simple, but if you can make layups in basketball, you can score yourself a lot of points. But it's not that easy.
It's not that easy.
When you're getting contested by a player of your size or athleticism. But Mary has the ability to finish around the rim like no one I've seen at the women's game.
Harry Peretta will tell you firsthand, for a lot of years, even with good players, they've missed layups at times. This team, I don't think, is a problem.
No. We've seen it in versatility. We saw Janet Tucker. We saw Bridget Herlihy. You know, obviously Mary Gadeka. They're all finishing well around the basket because you know the Wildcats are going to shoot plenty of threes, but if they can get layups and threes, they're going to be very successful.
23 wins last year for Villanova. Adriana Hahn, the senior out of Delaware. Janet Tucker, the senior out of Baltimore. Mary Gadeka scores it again.
Good job going to the offensive glass, using her instincts there. Mary saw that ball is going to be short. Come to this side of the basket, grab it with 2 hands, and put it back in.
Had 2 double-doubles last year, including one against Hartford, as we'll see the Hawks next week. Janet Tucker swats it away, as we'll see Caitlin Swint get a touch. This is Abby Shofstall out of Pottsville. Jordan Hertz, the terrific point guard, will get it down low and look for Julia Cutts. East Stroudsburg looking to create their own shot, but we're moving the ball around pretty well. A very solid Division II team.
But the Wildcats doing a great job of stopping dribble penetration.
Good kick out. The 3 is good. And Amanda Pike with her 3rd triple.
Yeah, she can really shoot the
of
basketball.
the game. They'll call it her 2nd 3, and that's 6 points for Pike. As Sam Karanji gets fouled. And Villanova shooting a blistering 61%, while the Warriors at just 29%. 11 of 18 from the field for Villanova. 4 fouls here in the second quarter on the Warriors. 5:41 left. No fouls yet on Villanova here in the second quarter. Remember, with the new rules that were put into place several years ago, it's 5 fouls per quarter. And then once that 5th foul occurs, you shoot free throws the rest of the quarter. No good on the 3 by Karanji, as Esposito flies in for the rebound opportunity, and it goes out of play.
Yeah, it's a little bit deep for Sam, I think. You know, she was a good 3-4 feet behind the line, so a tough one there.
Villanova will insert Raven James into the contest, and Brianna Herlihy and Grace Stant will return as well. Abby Shofstall out there with Jordan Hertz in the backcourt. There's Marlene Bassett, who sets the screen. Bassett's a pretty good low post player for Coach Diane Decker and her staff. Dominic Rayam will have to be a big player for them as a forward, kind of a guard combo forward player for East Stroudsburg. Off the dribble, it's Jordan Hertz.
Good job by Karanji there, gets her hand in on that to knock it off the East Stroudsburg player's knee. The Wildcats will take over after this timeout here with 5 minutes to go in the second quarter. Wildcats lead at 37-15.
746 wins for Harry Peretta. We'll take a timeout. More after this on Nova Nation All Access. Back here in the second quarter, the Wildcats with a sizable lead over East Stroudsburg. First ever game, our exhibition tonight in the brand new Finneran Pavilion. That's right, when you win national championships, you get a brand new building. Steve, this place is gorgeous.
Really is.
My
It's a
goodness.
beautiful facility. It's going to certainly help Harry Peretta recruiting-wise, and also Jay Wright. It's just a beautiful facility that these student-athletes have a great opportunity to play in now. First-class home court advantage.
Brand new lounges, lots of amenities, brand new food and beverage options, brand new locker rooms, great sound system. Grace Stant buries it.
Yep, nice pull-up there. Good job by Grace. Get a player up in the air and then put the two-dribble pull-up, knock down a mid-range jumper.
She's important because she's a veteran on this team. She knows the offense. She knows the defense. She can rebound well. She knows what she's doing out there. A very important piece of the puzzle. And that's a hook shot for Marlene Bassett. Shot 50% last year. Very solid player out of Williamsport for Coach Diane Decker.
Spends most of her time in and around the basket, but we talk about a 50% shooter, shooting from close range most often.
Sam Karanji will skip it as Grace Stant hits a three.
She's looked good offensively. Hits her second three. We saw the little pull-up shot the last time down. She mentioned her importance. You get something from Grace off the bench could really help this year.
A combination of players have to replace Alex Lewin, whether it's Brianna Herlihy, Bridget Herlihy, Grace Stant, Esposito, all will kind of play that hybrid Alex Lewin role. They'll all contribute. Nice passing by East Stroudsburg, shot off the mark, and there's the great rebounding by Brianna Herlihy.
Yeah, and just an athletic play to go get the basketball.
She is absolute piranha defensively. Turned over by Villanova, and Amanda Pike has it, as does Jordan Hertz. Very tough to get a gauge for East Stroudsburg with three of their best players not available, and Imani Brown graduated, their best player, who won the Conference Player of the Year in the East Division a season ago in the PSAC, as Imani Brown averaged 18.5 points per game.
But mentions the depth of the program. Still picked second, as you mentioned earlier in the league. You know, after losing the players they lost, a great job by Diane Decker to recruit, to keep the cupboard going, so to speak, and keep that roster full of talented ball players.
There's Esposito, and that's what she can do. She kind of knifes in off the wing. Raven James got the offensive rebound.
Yep,
fresh set for Nova. Brianna Herlihy draws the foul.
Good job of getting the ball inside. Wildcats do have a height advantage, and they're taking advantage of that by dumping the ball inside. This time, Bridget Herlihy gets herself to the line to shoot fouls.
Dominic Graham, number 32, called for the foul.
Apologies, that was Brianna. Excuse me, not Bridget.
There's Brianna Herlihy. Averaged 1.1 points per game last year in not a lot of minutes, 39% shooter. You don't get those shots when you have such a powerhouse of an offense, especially from what we saw last year for Villanova, one of their best scoring teams ever. Brianna misses the second free throw.
So empty trip there, 0 for 2 from the line.
Nova, a good team at the line last year, 72%, and that team was much better on paper from the stripe. Dominic Graham converts as the Warriors shooting 33% from the field. And as you said, Steve, it's tough to measure these games when Division I teams are always going to be faster and bigger and stronger. Raven James off the dribble and a foul away from the ball.
It's going to be like a hold off the ball. That'll be the 5th team foul. So I think
in the double bonus.
Two shots.
2 shots, rest of the quarter for Villanova. Grace Stant went 8 for 10 at the stripe last year. A very solid player, as we said, makes the first. You need everybody to contribute. That's funny, we mentioned Alex Lewin so many times, Steve. Harry Peretta essentially called her a utility player, but that's a compliment in this game when you can do so many things well.
I guess the better term might be from a fan's is versatile player. She does a lot of different things. When you say utility player in baseball, it's a guy that plays once or twice a week. But I think
that's all the rage nowadays in baseball.
Yeah, so the versatility of her game, I think, is what made her so special. The ability to do all the things we talked about earlier in the broadcast, to shoot it, to handle it, to rebound, to guard, and do everything on the floor that you need out of your senior leader, which she was last year.
Cam Onken grabs the board. Alex Lewin finished 7th in points, 10th in rebounds, and 16th in assists. There's a bucket for Brianna Herlihy.
Wildcats doing a good job looking up the floor, getting the ball up the floor, and looking for each other. Nice quick pass there, and inside, Brianna Herlihy able to lay it in.
The more touches some of these younger players get in game experience, it helps you so much because you have a chance to play against somebody else. Dominic Graham hits a 3 from the corner.
So we've seen her inside and now outside. As you mentioned, a versatile offensive player.
That feels good for Graham, I'm sure. She didn't hit a 3 last year as she went 0 for 4. Adriana Hahn, more of a distributor tonight. And that's what she is. She's a true point guard that can light it up. Cameron Onken misses there.
So 1:14 to go here in the second quarter. Wildcats lead 45-22.
Very interesting, Steve. Adriana Hahn, of course, 2 years ago led the Big East with 93 threes. Last year, 69, still a great number, but teams guarded her more closely, as we talked about. Brianna Herlihy, her great defense, all the way to the cup. Kelly Jaycott cleans it up.
Good job by Jaycott to run the floor. You never know what's going to happen. When they first saw it, it looked like Brianna was going to have a layup on her own. Unfortunately, good defense by East Stroudsburg. Jaycott fouls it up on the miss.
I'm very curious to finish that point. What kind of season will Adriana Hahn have in her senior season?
I don't think you'll see her hit 93s again. I just think there's too much versatility in the team. The team is too well-rounded. They're going to share the ball so well. It's not incumbent on Adriana to have to shoot the ball that much and score that much for this team to be successful. As you just see, Brianna Herlihy comes off the bench, knocking down shots, getting in the rim. I just think there's more talent spread throughout the roster than there was in Adriana's sophomore year.
As we said with Dominique Graham, feeling good to hit a three. That must feel great for Brianna Herlihy. She went 0 for 6 from 3 last year. How about Kelly Jaycott on a steal and an easy 2?
Strong way to end the calf here for the Wildcats here.
A couple of seconds left. One last opportunity for Tiffany Lepotsky to end the first half. A successful first half in the brand new Finneran Pavilion. Villanova women's basketball coming off a 23-win season and 12-6 in the Big East. Very impressive here in the early going. Our score at halftime, Villanova 42, East Stroudsburg 22. As Kelly Jaycott with 9 points, and East Stroudsburg led by Dominique Graham with 7. We'll take a timeout and more Villanova basketball up next on Nova Nation All Access.